Welcome back. Fantastic. Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Mordechai Goodman for Site or Kesher, going through Derech Hashem. I'm from Jewish Education in Manchester. Pick up all the free shiurim you want from www.gemuk.org. That's gemuk.org. Lots of free things to listen to there. And you can also see Start Your Day the Torah Way as well on torahway.co.uk and Speaker 509. We got to a bit last time where I couldn't go on and go into it because it's its own thing. And we hit Sefer Derech Hashem, which is the way of God, which is the quintessential handbook of Jewish philosophy, a boiled down kind of repository and dictionary encyclopedia of Jewish philosophy. And we got to section 1, chapter 5.1 to a tricky bit. So that's page 77 in the famous Feldheim version of it. But if you're utilizing an online thing, it's section 1, chapter 5, which is the last chapter of section 1. And we're just in point 1. And we're about to talk about demons. Okay. We need to have a bit of a discussion about this. Try to think about the relationship you have with your postman, or better today, probably call it a post person. I have a female post lady, and she uses the term post person. So I guess we have to call them post people now, not postmen. And try to think about that. Do you know what they look like? Do you know who they are? Would you recognize them? If they knocked on your door, would you say hello? Most people I ask generally would recognize their postman, say hello, thank you, maybe like, show the weather's nice, something like that. Oh, it's a bit cold today, etc. They know who delivers their parcels. You know your delivery personnel. You know what I mean? Okay. Let's think about the people who take away your bins. Waste, refuse workers, whatever they're called, like management, refuse management personnel. People who work on the bin trucks. You leave your bins out and they come at a predestined day, whatever, the pre-organised day from the council, and they take all your bins and they put them on a truck, and then you take your stuff back. Whoever drives the truck, and people come around and they put it, however it works. Do you ever speak to them? Do you say, hello, good to see you, how's it going? The likelihood is, and this is just an analogy, so work with it, the likelihood is that you've got less to do with your bin men than you do with your postmen. Now let's think about something. Who's more important in the world? Who are more choshev? Your postman or your bin men? Imagine a world without the postman. There was no such thing. There are no postmen. Okay, so every time you have to go to a predestined like pick-up slot like at a post office or one of those like new computer-controlled boxes that open up, when you've got a delivery and you have to go to a hub where there's all these delivery PO boxes kind of thing. You'd manage, but it would be harder. But, okay, you'd manage. Imagine a world without any bin. There are no refuse personnel, no one. You make waste, it stays there. No one's taking it anywhere. The world would be overrun with rubbish. What kind of world would that be? I'd say a more dangerous world. A dirty world, an unpleasant world, probably more disease, more rats, more plague, more infection. Sewerage and waste disposal and taking away the bins completely changes the entire environment you live in. I would say bin men are far more important for human civilization than postmen. Putting that out there as an idea. Don't get lost in an analogy, but you get the idea. Now, here's the question. You talk to your postman more than you talk to your binman. Why? The bin men are more important. We've just established that. You should talk to bin men more. They're more choshev. Here's the deal. You don't like to talk to the bin men as much because they're involved with things you throw away. You don't want to be involved with what they're involved with. You don't care who takes it. It could be the dictator of North Korea comes and takes it. I don't know how he got there, but he took away your bins this week. Whatever, he was doing espionage. I don't know. But he had to propose us a bit. Who cares? Whatever, as long as I get my bins back, my trash cans back, empty, I'm cool. I don't mind. Whoever wants to take it, take it. I've made that stuff hefka. I've made it ownerless. You take it. It's things I don't want. The postmen deliver me things that sometimes I don't want, like bills. But there are also different things I sometimes do want, like things I've ordered, or passports, or documents, things I need. Really important things, like, statements, I don't know, whatever it's going to be. You need those documents. Every time an individual does a good thing, the Mishnah in Avos says, you create an advocate. What does that mean? It means you create a malach, or an energy, which supports you and says, I'm a good deed that was created by such and such and such and such a time. Every time you do a bad deed, it generates a negative spiritual energy. That's what humans do. We churn out energies. That's what we're good at. Everything we do, as we learned last time, has an effect on the spiritual domain as well, because everything we move is moving through space, gravity, density, time, through the gas of the air that we're in, etc. We know what's going on. That's only because of the spirituality behind it that's making that happen, like the computer chip making the email happen. You interface with the email, but the computer chip's moving in the background. Spirituality is directly connected to physicality, according to Jewish thought. You do something bad, you're generating bad and bad spirituality. Now imagine a world without bin men. All that bad spirituality would start piling up to make a disgusting, spiritually horrible world that would become more dangerous, more prone to disease, etc., as we talked about without the bin men, right? What if I would create a spiritual waste municipality system which would gleefully mop up all spiritual negativity, thus rendering the streets clean and safe for you to walk through? Demons. They're created for a very useful, important purpose. There is a municipality service invented by God that is necessary for the constant running of his universe in a safe, clean way for Balei Bechira, for human beings. Very good. Don't have anything to do with them like I don't have anything to do with my bin men, because they're busy with things that mistakes that I've made or damage that I've done. But fine, okay, I understand. They're very, very important, very choshev element of the universe. Yeah? Let's see it inside. Top of page 77, section 1, chapter 5, end of point 1. There is, however, another class that's not angelic, that's not forces, that's transcendental, that isn't a soul, which is spiritual, designed to be bound to the physical, and it isn't physical, purely physical, like a tree. And it's intermediate between the spiritual and physical. It's kind of grayed out in a twilighted area. You know when you have a computer menu and like there's a menu like, I don't know, like formatting, and it's grayed out because you can't click it, you can't access it. This is in a grayed out, it's there, but it's grayed out, it's unselectable. It is there. This consists of entities which cannot be detected by physical means and are not bound by the limitations of the laws of ordinary detectable matter. For this reason, they might improperly be thought to be spiritual. We just said anything which exists, which can't be detected physically, is spiritual. Well, this exists, and it kind of like seems to bend the laws of physicality. It must be spiritual. No, their essence is very different from that of the angelic class, even though they may resemble them in some ways in being able to break the boundaries of physical. When the Chartumim, the necromancers of Egypt, were able to copy Moshe Rabbeinu, when he started to do the 10 plagues, the signs, that like the first one done, they were able to copy what Moshe Rabbeinu was doing in a very different way. You know when you go see a magic trick, a conjuring trick, often they hold up a curtain while they do what they're actually doing behind the curtain, and they drop the curtain and ba-da. What a demon does is it can move very, very quickly beyond our refresh rate, and it can move very quickly. So Moses was an agent of God who changed the koichas, who changed the program of blood. So the angel that was involved in blood changed the way water turned into blood downstairs. It was a top-down miracle. What these sorcerers in Egypt were able to do is they were able to put up a curtain, then incite a demon utilizing its name, get it to run and steal some blood from somewhere, run back quickly, put the blood on the table, then they put down the curtain and look, there's a cup of blood. Now really, they didn't make that cup of blood. That cup of blood was stolen from somewhere else. It's just they were able to utilize a creature to get that blood at their behest. Now, Pharaoh was happy enough with that. He was like, look, I don't know how you're turning water into blood. I don't know how you're doing that. But I can see my fellows over here are also able to conjure up blood out of nowhere. That's good enough for me to say that you're just a better trickster than them. I don't know how you're doing your tricks, but, I can also do that. Now, that didn't work with lice, because demons don't have the ability to pick up something smaller than a grain of barley, explains Rashi. Which means that when the lice came, they couldn't conjure the same thing, because they went to tell the demons, go get us some lice. To just like Aaron had put all this, made all the lice happen. Goes, no, I can't do that. There's limitations. So that was where they stopped being able to copy what Moses and Aaron were doing. So we see that they were merely utilizing these demons to move more quickly than the human eye, and it was essentially a conjuring trick, where they were getting the demons to do their will, to try to offset what was obviously happening with Moshe and Aaron. Now, these entities, demons, also have specific attributes and unique limitations based upon their true nature. They are therefore considered a separate class, namely that of shadim. Okay? Now, when we talk about these creatures, we tend not to use that word. We call them shindalids. Why is that? We say the more you talk about it, the more you get involved in it, the more like, oh, someone's talking about us. That's so cool. He's talking about us now. He's talking about us now. Whoa, let's chill up. We're demons. What are you going to say about us? We don't want to hang out with these creatures because these creatures are generally destructive. They feed on spiritual negativity. It's not, that's fine. Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created these wonderful creatures to do this work. I'm very happy about it. I just don't want anything to do with them. So we don't even mention the term. We just call them shindalets, which alludes to the concept of shadim, which is in Olam HaShadi, which is in the world of the twilight area, which is kind of the greyed out world, which is in between the physical and spiritual. They're a bit of each, but they're neither kind of thing. God isn't spiritual, isn't physical at all. He has no vestige of spirituality and no vestige of physicality. These things are kind of like greyed out, nishtahi, nishtaheh. They're a little bit of it. They're kind of in between the two. In some ways, they're physical. Some ways, they seem to be spiritual, but really, they're neither. Okay, so they're in that municipality and they're mopping up. But very good. At the end of the day, it's all part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hashgacha, his interface, in order to make it a good, safe environment for you to be able to make good, quality bechira decisions. Never lose sight of that. This class of shindalids also contains certain individual types, where each type may be considered a separate species belonging to the general class of the shindalid. So they're the kind of ethereal waste collection system. We'll talk about this more on page 189, page 209, and page 309 as well. Okay? But that's kind of the end of talking about demons so far. Of all the things that exist, however, and this is a really important point, I would highlight or underline if you're working with your own sefer here. Only man alone consists of two complete and absolute opposites, namely a spiritual soul from the level of the forces and a physical body which is essentially an ape. You should know that tells Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Mordechai Goodman, said if you take spirituality out of it, the Goyim have got the correct taich. The Gentiles have translated things correctly. We do have animalistic bodies. Our bodies are highly refined apes. That's absolutely correct. Just they completely divorced the idea of any kind of spirituality that's associated with it. So they don't know about it and they don't have any recourse to it. They have no tradition to real spirituality. That is what the Alshich says is why they hate us so much, because the real monopoly of true spirituality is only with Judaism. Every other spirituality isn't real. It's not true. Only we've got it because only God gave it he offered it to every single Gentile. Said, I'm willing to give all of the data to you. And they said, thank you, but no thank you. We're not interested. We don't want to have to take on the burden of having to partner with you in this. We don't want to know. So God said, okay, well, I'll find someone who does. And so they found the Jews, right? And the Jews were like, yeah, okay, we'll do it. Well, then that comes with all the data. That Har Sinai, says Gemara on Shabbos, is Loshen Har Sinah. Mount Sinai is the Loshen of Mount Hatred. Why? The second you said yes and you took it all, it's winner takes all, and they all said no, that's where the root of anti-Semitism will lie. The root is an intrinsic difference in spiritual bequeathment. We have been bequeathed, not because they could have also had it. This is not exclusive saying we said yes and they can't have it. We said yes and only too happy they have it. They didn't want it. But Vakashah, so Hashem said, okay, well, who does want it? Do you understand? Fair's fair. Because of that, we understand how the system works with spirituality. We know actually what's going on with human spiritual anatomy accurately based upon what we were told by Moses at Mount Sinai. We've got the data. And this, by the way, is not argued by anyone in Judaism. That no one says we don't have these components or these components don't exist. This is universally accepted as different soul components across all branches of Jewish learning. Okay, there's no question that all Orthodox Judaism says these are the components of the human soul. Okay, which starts from the bottom, being the nefesh bahamis, nefesh sichlis, the ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida. Okay, so everyone holds those are the bits. No one says, no, that's not true. There's another bit called the banana. Okay, it doesn't work like that. This is accurate from our tradition. Only we've got that. Only we've got spirituality stuffed into an ape. Only we've got that. Angels have spirituality not stuffed into an ape. And apes, like gorillas, have apes not stuffed with spirituality. That's how it works. We're in the middle. We're in the middle. You get that? Now, one must be careful not to erroneously consider that animals are the same as humans in this respect. Although animals do have a soul, it's called nefesh bahamis, and it's the outcome of a functioning consciousness. There's different levels of consciousness. A worm doesn't have the same consciousness as a zebra, and a zebra maybe doesn't have the same consciousness as a beluga whale, which is extremely intelligent, and maybe a beluga whale doesn't have consciousness as a bonobo chimp or a monkey or something like that. I think they taught bonobos 200 words in facilitated sign language. 200 words in any language is enough to get you on holiday in Italy, right? 200 words in Italian, not like things like, I don't know, like sunset and, mystic, but things like, hotel, pizza, money, traveller's checks, I don't know, like police station, that will get you fine. 200 words is great. So you could teach a bonobo monkey 200 words in facilitating. I want to play. I'm hungry. I would like cake. All those things. It can talk to you, no problem like that. That's because it has a highly developed nefesh bahamis, of which the top of it is nefesh sichlis, an intelligent component to its life force. We share that with horses, dogs, cats, and animals. They have that. We have that. Okay? Although animals do have a soul, it is not a spiritual entity. It's an outcome of a physical process of a consciousness. That's why we got these dots here. Anything from here on up is spiritual. Anything from there on down is physical. Okay? This bit here is physical. This bit here is spiritual. Animals stop there. We also have that. We share the same consciousness as cats and dogs in the form of being alive and feeling things and having sensations. That's consciousness. That's an animalistic, biologically traceable concept. We've been saying that for thousands of years. Although an animal's soul, listen to these words, beautiful words, may be the most ethereal, that's the highest, most refined thing in all of the physical entities in the universe. Anywhere you go in the universe, you see a jet or a black hole. A jet can go across whole galaxies. A pulsar. I don't know, like a solar wind, something really, really amazing in the galaxy. Nothing is as refined and almost spiritual as a human consciousness. A consciousness of a highly developed sentient being. But it's still physical. That's still physical. It's the realm of psychology, isn't it? That's the realm of psychological study. It's really the boundary between hard physics and chemistry and something beyond that. That's just like, but it's still physical and quantifiable. It still does not enter the realm of the spiritual. You could do psychology on a tiger to a certain extent of its consciousness. But there's something in humans which is beyond that. Apart from the fact that humans are more developed consciousness than tigers, there's something beyond that in humans. Humans are also living creatures and therefore also have similar animal souls. We share that. Besides this animal soul, however, humans also have a higher soul, and that's a godly, but not God, a godly divine creature which has been associated with the physical body for a purpose. Gentiles have the purpose of the soul to give them free will, bechira, to do the Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach, the universal laws of humanity, the 7 laws of Noah. If you're a Gentile watching this, look up the 7 Noahide laws. That is perfectly suited for you. That is exactly what you should be doing to live the greatest moral life you possibly can. It's the best, and also it will give you the best possible olam haba, give you the best possible future life as well. That is what you should be doing. The 7 Noahide laws, the laws of Noah. Look up the 7 universal laws. That's what you should be doing. The Jews have to do the 10 commandments, which are the 613 mitzvahs. Now, in the 7 Noahide laws, there's many sub-laws which add up to between 160 and 240 overall laws. Not all of them applicable to everyone at all stages, but things like laws against theft and murder, and you have to bless God, and you have to pray, you have to set up courts, no cruelty to animals. Gentiles are forbidden to be cruel to animals. That is a law, one of the universal laws. Jews also have to not be cruel to animals as well, but it's one of the big 7 for all humanity. God's very big on that, no animal cruelty. You can utilize animals for vivisection, for medical research, or utilization for their skins. But if you just go and kill a cow, just for the fun of it, the Torah itself calls you a murderer, Jew or Gentile. You can't just go and kill animals for no good reason. These have a life force. There's a very special creature. You can't just do that. So you can't just butcher God's creation. You've got to have a reason that is within the book set that we say, yes, that's okay. Now, this higher godly soul is a separate entity, completely different from the body and far removed from the physical. It's only by virtue of God's decree that the higher soul is even able to reside in man's physical body at all, for the purpose outlined in the previous chapters, which is to elevate the body, to elevate an ape, to get it to earn excellence physically by doing physical activities of loving kindness, charity, etc. That means the fingers themselves, which are just ape fingers, become elevated. That's what God wanted. He wanted to essentially take an ape and elevate it with the human soul, so that the whole thing, soul and body together, should be elevated in closeness to him. Why wanted to do that? He wanted to give his good to another. Why do you want to do that? I don't know. We'll always go back to page 35, right? I don't know, because he wanted to. I can't know why he wants, because all of his wants aren't needs. And all of human wants are needs. So I can't think as to why he would want something if it's needless. He wants it because he wants it, not because he needs it. That's what he wanted to do there. Okay, so how's he going to get that done? Well, he's going to get a spiritual soul to influence, essentially, an ape. And together, that's going to generate Bechira. The most important thing is that ape doesn't want to do it. And the spiritual says, no, we've got to do this. We've got to fast today. The body's like, but I'm hungry. I want to eat. When you overcome that animalistic urge, you've earned unparalleled excellence for yourself by justifying the decision. Justification is key. Justification is key. Go back to the previous. You've got to feel justified. God is the most justified being. You can't mimic him unless you're justified. You have to be legally taken to account, get the paperwork, and make sure you feel comfortable that you've done what you need to do. So you feel comfortable that you're the master of all your decisions. You've got to feel that way. And whatever decisions you aren't the master of, they don't count for you. Yeah, it's only the Bechira decisions that really count. Covered a lot of ground. You did great. How heavy and intense was that? It's one of the heavy ones. But we have now finished the concept that a animal soul is the most ethereal of all physical things, but it's not spiritual. And the spiritual soul is in no way physical. They don't want to be together. They hate each other. It's like oil and water, chalk and cheese. They hate each other. But God has forced this homogenization of body and soul specifically for the purpose of generating free will. Though that's the counter-activity forces that are pulling against each other, which generate your ability to truly be able to say, I made a choice. Okay? We'll start with point 2 next time. And that's going to be talking about the actual interface system as to how God utilizes this as a circuit between you and him. Very interesting area, and we'll do that next time. Looking forward. Thanks so much for trying so hard to sit through this. I know it was a tough material, but we did it. Well done. See you then.